We're now on page 3 of the Residential Purchase Agreement, October 1st, 2016. We do have some fairly important changes on this page. We'll go over those. A lot of what we had is still the same, though. Earnest money on line 3B upon acceptance shall be deposited as per our previous language. Line number 6, close of escrow on or before. Once again, check with your clients and see what would be most advantageous for them. One of the things to make your offer perhaps a bit stronger is to call up that listing agent and ask them if they have a preferred closing date as well. Line 10, IRS disclosure. Please let your seller know that all proceeds will be on a modified 1099 form. Title insurance, of course, this offer is contingent upon the seller's ability to deliver a good and marketable title. And number 7, buyer's due diligence. And here's where some of the changes are. So if the buyer's obligation is conditioned on the buyer's due diligence, we need to, first of all, find out how many days the buyer would like to have to perform all of their inspections. Normally 15 days, could be 7, once again, if you want a strong offer. But seller agrees to cooperate with the buyer's due diligence period in ensuring that all necessary utilities, such as gas, power, and water, are operable and pilot lights are on for the buyer's investigation. This states it very clearly here in the contract that it is the seller's responsibility to provide these utilities. If there's any questions on this about the seller not providing them, please see your broker. Number 27A, property inspection and condition. It is fully the buyer's action to determine whether the property is satisfactory. The buyer's request shall not apply or indemnify any injuries suffered by the buyer or third parties, or that the result of intentional tort, gross negligence, or any misconduct or omission by the seller or any third parties. So if you're going to have inspections and there's any problems, any accidents that happen, buyer shall not apply to the injuries. Buyer cancels this. If buyer cancels this agreement due to a specific inspection report, buyer shall provide seller at the time of cancellation with a copy of the report containing the name, address, and telephone number of the inspector. So this cancellation can be done by email. Buyer's right to cancel or resolve objections, line 47. If the due diligence period is unacceptable, buyer may either no later than the due diligence deadline cancel the purchase agreement by providing written notice to the seller, whereupon the EMD will be released to the buyer without the requirement of further written authorization from the seller. No later than the due diligence deadline referenced in Section A, resolve in writing with seller any objection buyer has arising from buyer's due diligence. So what this means is that if they find an issue with the home that the buyer will not accept, he may cancel the contract and get his EMD back without the seller's signature. He must provide in writing a copy of the report and cancellation to the seller before the end of due diligence period. However, if he fails to cancel or resolve the objection before due diligence is over, buyer will have deemed to waive the due diligence condition. That's item C, line 54. Now, let's say that the buyer wants to move ahead with the purchase contingent upon the seller doing certain repairs. So you filled out a buyer's request for repairs. However, the seller does not answer you and agree to redoing the repairs within the due diligence period. If at the end of the due diligence you have not heard back from the seller, I would consider that a no on the seller's part. You can do one of two things. Give an addendum to extend the due diligence before due diligence ends, or appraise your buyer of the options and let him make a decision of how to move forward. Once again, make sure that your buyer's initial on line 57, and then again at the bottom with buyer's initials by buyer's name and property address.